Mannequin Hands, and I just need 1 second to set up this Instagram live. I will be going live there in a second now. I'm really excited to run you guys through a look from my book, Mannequin Hands, A Guide to Nail Art. We are going to be focusing on one look in particular. Let me find that one. And I'll be running you through from start to finish. I'm excited to hear any questions. If you want me to pause at any point and give you some insights into products that I'm using, I'll talk about all that while we go. But we're doing this look here. So where am I centered everywhere? I'm really excited to show you this look. It is one of my, I don't know if I can say favorites from my book because obviously so much went into kind of making this happen. So I don't know about favorite, but it is a special one to me. This one came to me when I saw Nadia Lee Cohen doing a shoot for Paris Fashion Week, and she was wearing this Schiaparelli bag, and I saw that and thought it was really great inspiration. So let's get into it. So let's have a look at this right here. This is the look. Hi, friends. So hi, Maison Gel. Hope everyone's having a good one today. Sean has just asked if I have a go-to color palette or combinations I return to often. I guess I do in some ways. I am a big fan of, I guess, my browns, my greens, my chromes. They are always kind of my go-to, they're my go-to color palette. I guess gold, silvers, I don't know. I'm just always addicted to something with a little shine. Also a big fan of magnetics. I feel like that is also something I'm reaching for a lot. Okay. So fun. Jason said it's so fun how many cameras you have. Yes, I have one going on the laptop and one here on my phone. My book is out now, and if you are on TalkShopLive, you can click the link to shop through there. If you're watching on Facebook or Instagram, you can comment the word shop for a link. And if you're watching on YouTube, then the link is in the description. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start with this Jellyfit color here. It is FW187. And this is definitely a favorite, as you can see by some of the use of that bottle. And I'm just going to go in and apply a coat here. Obviously, this look can be done in any color. I feel like a cobalt, a green, an emerald, they would all work really well. But this tan was kind of to reflect that Schiaparelli look. And we're going to go in and cure that now. I'll paint the others while we're here and answer some questions. So, when did I get into nail art? I got into nail art when I was a kid. My mum and my auntie used to have a nail artist come to the house, and she used to do their nails at the dining room table, and I was obsessed. I would go through all of her colors and arrange them into color order. And from there, the obsession grew. When I was at university, I worked in a shoe store, and upstairs was a Japanese nail salon, and I was already obsessed with Japanese nail art. I would go to Kinokuniya, this bookstore that imported Japanese nail magazines, and buy them there. And then eventually, while I was at university, I just decided to do a course so I could access all the professional quality materials. And when I did that, the obsession just grew. And then I quit my job 6 years ago to do nails full time. So that was my nail journey. So I've done 4 to make up the face. Hopefully we get to all 4 of them, but I'll put the faces down so we can go the whole way through, hopefully. Tequila Serena asked, does your book ship to New Zealand? Hi, yes, it does. So it is available internationally. If it's not, I don't know if I have New Zealand shipping on my site, but we definitely have it at a few bookstores and on Amazon and your classic online book retailers. If you can't find it there, please say the word, DM me, and I will make sure to find a stockist for you. Gina Lee asked if I could name drop celebrities I've worked with. Yeah, I mean, I definitely can. So my first celebrity client was MIA. This lovely nail tech from Melbourne, Clara H, was contacted. I think the person didn't realize she was in Melbourne, and so she sent my details over, and that was the first celebrity client I worked with. And then I've done nails for um, Julia Michaels, Dua Lipa, Charlie XCX. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh no, and Paris Gobel. I feel like I'm missing someone, but yeah, I think that's the names I can think of right this second. Um, Gina Lee said, "How do you come up with your designs?" Honestly, art and fashion are always like a really big inspiration for me. They are the things I guess I consume most. So I would say they're the biggest inspirations. Also, sometimes just like random textures you see, and even sometimes food is good inspo. So they're kind of my main inspo points. But yeah, I'd say fashion and art are my biggest inspiration points. So that's the base coat done there. What Lisa asked, where do you draw your biggest creative influences? Hi Lisa. My biggest creative influences, yeah, again, I guess fashion and art. Also, I think we're really lucky in the nail tech community. There are so many incredible nail technicians. And so when someone like kind of breaks out a new technique, you can't help but be inspired by it. And it's really amazing watching the community expand and grow and techniques and materials start to shift to. I think this is like the thing that I love most about the nail world is that I'm just gonna cue that one more time because I can't remember what order I put those in. The most amazing thing about it is it seems to be like a new medium or a new way of doing things all the time. It doesn't seem to ever slow down, and I think that's what's kept me really inspired over such a long span of time. Often I find it's really easy for me to move through hobbies because I'm a hands-on person, so I always love exploring different hobbies, but nails are constantly evolving. The nail world is constantly evolving, so I think it keeps me really inspired. The longest nails I've done on someone lengthwise are probably if anyone's a nail tech, the Apres like XXL stilettos. I did them on myself for a New Year's party, and I wore them for about 5 days before realizing that I couldn't really do too much, so I had to take them off. Let me grab my next. So I'm going to wipe these down with alcohol to take off the inhibition layer, that sticky layer that's left after curing. And okay, sorry, I thought I had pinned my comment on Instagram, I believe. Hopefully that's shown up. Who is a celebrity I'd love to work with but have not yet? Hi Chandra. There's a few. I think weirdly it's not necessarily celebrities that I'm like a massive fan on, but rather celebrities that I guess are known for their affinity for nail art. So I guess Dolly Parton, because she like learned how to play the guitar with nails, so it'd be cool to do her nails. Also she's an icon. Who else? I heard that Serena Williams had her nail license and she always had some pretty iconic sets when she played. I remember like a Diamante one when she was number one. So maybe her. I'm trying to think of who else. There's actually so many. I think sometimes it's just really exciting when you get to meet people whose work you consume, and when you're involved in that way and you're getting to see them in in the place that they create art, and then they get to see you do the same. I mean, whether they're interested or not in the art that I'm creating is separate to the point. It's more just exciting that you're getting to kind of see them work while they see you work. I'm going to do some airbrushing in a second, and I'm very sorry because it is loud, so my apologies for that. Evelyn asked, what tools and materials do you consider essential for beginners looking to get serious about nail art? So when it comes to that, I would say that you don't need to spend excess money on things like gems or decals or the rest. Those things you can find quite affordably, and you don't really need to stress yourself out trying to get expensive stock of those things. What I would say you have to spend the most on is your education as a nail tech and good quality base product and tools like your e-file, your lamp. I'm trying to think of what else were core. You don't also need to get every single color under the sun. At the end of the day, if you're using the same brand, you can mix colors together. and that worked also. I'm just clearing my airbrush and making sure she is ready to go. Chandra asked if I have my own product line. I don't. I do have decals, but I don't have gels. I think unless I can get in contact with the brands that I really, actually that's a lie. I have done a collection, sorry, with Jellyfit, and I got to select the colors and design that. That was amazing. But my own product line, no. Until, if I could access getting them made in Korea or Japan, or any of the countries where I feel like gel is really advanced and the technology for gel is really advanced, then I would do my own product line. But until then, I'm not too interested. I think it's a really well saturated market. We have so many options, which is incredible. So I'm just going to get my dark brown and my black to put down as the base. I'm just going to spray it all over first. So just going to get a little bit of gel in there. Unfortunately, I have indeed clogged the nozzles on these, and I need to get a pin to clear that. We're just going to go ahead and pour that in. Chandra asked, what is my go-to nail color? On myself, it always changes. I would say, I'm just going to add, just a touch more. My go-to color always changes on myself, but at the moment, it's just nude and some metallic stamping. I think also like a red never fails, which I know sounds boring, especially given how much I love nail art, but I mean, what's good is good sometimes. Winnie F, hi, asked, do you use gels or acrylic? I use gels. I do have some colored acrylic that I bought from Japan 10 years ago to use in molds and sculpting, but the smell kind of does take over. And while I personally actually kind of enjoy the smell, I think it's nostalgic, it does take over the room. So it's not my ultimate go-to. And obviously, like a lot of the training I've done is very gel specific. So that's where I spend my time. Okay, let's get started on this. So I always spray, I'm sorry about the sound, onto my paper towel first because the first color coming out is always going to be what's closest to the nozzle. So I just want that really deep brown. I might have used a bit too much black, but it kind of is quite deep on this, so I don't think that's a crime. Let's go in. I'm just going to lightly go edge to edge here. And I like to keep moving when I do my airbrush because you want it to dry nice and evenly. This isn't the most even spray I'll ever get, but we're wiping off most of this after our next step. So I'm just going to go right in and kind of cover the edges. Whoops, I got a little too excited there while I was reading your comments. Sorry. I'm going to empty this out and clean that out. Do you travel to the celebrities a lot to do their nails? Shauna asked. Hi, Shauna. Yes, most of the time it's on set or wherever they're working from. I'm just cleaning out my airbrush here with the Medea airbrush cleaner. That's my favorite. I'll go out to their hotel rooms or to set, and that's where I will inevitably do their nails. I'm just going to clean this. I always brush like an old brush around to make sure that I'm getting all the nooks and there's no dried airbrush paint in there, because that is the number one way to really make your airbrush clogged. Maya D, hi, asked do you prefer to work on coffin versus stiletto nails, or does it even matter? Thankfully, that's the last time we'll be doing airbrushing today, so it won't be so loud again. So I actually don't have a preference for shape. I always tell my clients that the shape of their nails should be reflective of, I guess, their lifestyle. I think that's really important. I think it's really easy for people to get really worked up on copying inspo. So I'm just using some non-white top coat here. I'm using level 2 because I want it to be a little bit thicker than your average. I think it's really easy for people to get really locked onto inspo that they're seeing and decide that it needs to look exactly the same. But I think it's about lifestyle and what you know wears well and the shape of your nails. I personally will never have a strict recommendation. I prefer length and shape to be my client's choice because they know what works best for them. Okay, so I'm going to go in here with some line work. So I did it quite organically in this. As you can see, I wanted these little gaps. I don't want it to look too structured because we're mimicking a natural finish. We're mimicking like a croc skin. So I think that's best. Someone did ask if I was doing the Schiaparelli look. Hello, yes, I am. So I do start first with a little grid. Again, I am not placing too much pressure. I don't need it to be a straight line. I don't need it to be perfect. We want it to look organic. The grid initially is just to get a feel for where we're going to go in again and make some more shape. And then what I do to make sure it kind of has the shape, I'm just gonna almost do an imperfect oval around each grid placement. So again, you can wiggle your brush around to get that real organic look going. I'm so impressed that I'm staying in frame. That is a small miracle for me. And then the same on each of the grids. While I do this, I'll answer some questions. Pam asked, do you make a draft of your design on paper or test nails before you actually do it for a customer? Hi, Pam. Sometimes I draft things, and I always do keep a little notebook and a pen in my handbag at all times. That is a must for me. And often I'll test things on myself and see how it wears before I do it on my clients, because I do have a lot of clients who are very engaged in their hobbies, i.e. gardening or camping. And so I need to make sure something is hard wearing. And honestly, sometimes nothing wears your nails harder than doing this job, because I'm always cleaning. So I kind of test that on myself before I go in on my clients. Or yeah, sometimes I do make up little menus. I did promise myself this year, I'm going to cure that. I promised myself this year that I'd make up a menu every month, and I think I failed at about month 4. So hopefully I get to pick that up before the year is out, but this is kind of the craziest time for us in the service industry. So we'll see how I go with my menus. Hopefully I get back to them soon. Victoria, hi Victoria, nice name. So what about 3D designs? Do you do that a lot of those too? I definitely do. I find that my clients that get 3D really love it. They can't really seem to go without it. It's a must. All the ones that love it are addicted. They kind of use the 3D designs to stim, and it stops them, especially people that used to bite their nails. It stops them from picking at it. They just kind of rub over the fun textures, and that keeps them occupied. So that is quite fun. And I think that's something that I don't know if I'll ever stop doing 3D work, really. I think it's so beautiful. And there's, again, so many ways to achieve it. Ramen Electra, hi. Do you think beginner techs are better served to start in a salon, or to still go to pro level as independent tech? Okay, so honestly, I didn't work in a salon, and I'm sure that there are a lot of things that I have missed in not doing that. I feel like also having camaraderie with other techs is really nice. So obviously try and build community either way, because that's how you can exchange all the important information, how you know that you can work together, how you know, what products work for some people and what works for others, and you learn to troubleshoot together and you share information. And that's really beautiful. So I think that's something that is definitely worthwhile about working in a salon. But I also, I can't speak to the experience because I've only worked as an independent tech, which I have enjoyed. But yeah, before I worked with other people, it gets lonely sometimes. Or if you have a client that seems unsure about the set that they got, you do feel insecure. And if there's no one else there to be like, hey, look, you did what that person asked and maybe it didn't work out exactly as you expected. Or oh, have you tried this product that works well for that instead? You kind of are just working it out on your own in your own time. And it can be a lot of trial and tribulation, and a lot of room for error. If you work with other people, you can kind of exchange skills in that way, which is really beautiful. Hi, Nasflip Beauty Room. Lynn's asked, how long is one of your sessions when you're doing some kind of a design? Okay, so most of my sessions with my regulars sit at the 2-hour mark. I am really prep oriented, I guess. Oh, I did this off center. That'll be fun. More organic that way. Yeah, most of my clients spend about 2 hours with me. I find that is enough time for me to do my removal, my prep, my overlay, or a gel extension. I do need longer if I'm doing a dual form or sculpted extension. But yeah, about 2 hours. And that's enough for me to do one of my kind of classic designs with maybe some airbrush, some 3D, some isolated chrome, or some stamping and the rest. Okay. Hi, Mama. Okay. So Best Mini Nails asked if I'm recreating the Chaparelli set. Yes, absolutely. This is the one that got the most votes on Instagram when I asked everyone to vote for it. So this is what we're going with, which is super fun. Okay, and then we're going to cure that. Where am I at? I'm just going to wipe off my brush. Okay, Shauna asked, how long does it typically take to do nails with the extra bling? To be honest, I don't do a lot of bling, but when it comes to my 3D designs, yeah, around the 2-hour mark, 2.5. I find that like hand painting takes a lot longer. I'm just going to wipe off the excess for the ones that are cured. And yeah, that's kind of how long that takes generally. Okay. So there we have it. That is the design, nice and organic there. I probably went maybe even a little bit ham on these ones. Getting a bit too excited by these questions. Thanks, guys. Lydia asked, how would you describe your signature nail art in 3 words? I would say hopefully dynamic, textural, and I guess layered. I really love layering. I really love getting some stamping, some chrome, some airbrush, a myriad of different techniques into one nail, some inks. That's kind of like my favorite way of working. If I just get to layer up until it looks quote unquote right, I'm pretty happy. Lucy E asked, is there a particular look or technique in the book you're especially proud of? I guess I do really love this one. I think it was fun because the concept wasn't just about the nails, but how we were going to shoot them. So if you've seen in the book, they're kind of laid out on 3 different hands. So it's me, my nail bestie here, Kumi, and model Naya, and all 3 of us worked together to get the shot, which was really cool. We all were like, Kumi was standing on a ladder and had her hand on my shoulder, and then I was crouching beneath her, and Naya was on the opposite side holding out, I think, the nose or the lips, and that's how we lined it up. So it went from like a concept that I didn't really know how we would shoot to something that we got to see come to life together. So that was really beautiful. Okay. Mallory asked, what was the process like translating your visual work into written instructional format? Okay, honestly, really nerve-wracking. So I'm going to go in with IBD hard gel. You could use Izemi version 2 I really like. You could use Macart rhinestone glue. It's up to you. This is basically about getting a gel that kind of stays where you put it and has a 3D raised finish if you dollop on a solid amount. Obviously, if you're doing something like this on a client, you would want to put on your low heat mode because this would get quite hot on a natural nail. And we're working with some serious height here over time. So let's do that. I'm going to kind of not rush through, but move through this base like level, I guess, somewhat quickly because I really want to make sure we get to the face in time. So I'm just dolloping that on. Excuse me if it's not my most accurate. Like I said, I really want to make sure we get to the real fun parts of the facial features. So Chandra asked, do I work from home or have a studio? I work from a studio. I was working from home at the start of my career, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm just going to tip this nail over. So I was getting real close to camera there, and then cure that. So I was working from home and I really enjoyed it. But after COVID hit, I lived in a house of 6 people, and I felt a little bit guilty. I'm not going to lie, like having people in and out of the house after COVID. Obviously, I didn't work during the lockdowns, but afterwards, I still feel like people were quite anxious about sharing spaces with a lot of people. And I felt bad for my roommates because they had been really, really kind about me working from home and never really had a problem with it. But I felt like after COVID, I was like, oh, maybe I want my own space so that if one of my, roommates gets COVID, I don't have to close down my business until they're better. We're going to bubble there. And so, yeah, it was kind of important to me to find a physical space that separated things after that. I think COVID gave people obviously a lot of anxiety about having people in their spaces and like being able to isolate, and having a separate space allowed me the peace of mind to know that if that happened and someone got sick in my house, I wouldn't have to shut up shop, I guess. So I ended up, sorry, I'm out of frame there. I ended up doing that. Oh, I just dropped that in there. Okay, well, that one's going to be a bit interesting, I guess. Okay. There we go. Okay. Mallory asked, how do you clean the inside of the airbrush? Does the nail polish dry inside of it? Okay, so I use acrylic-based airbrush paint, which would be the same as, like, you know, if you painted with normal paint at school or something, but in an airbrush form. So it is water soluble, but I use a Medea cleaning liquid, and I kind of scrub the inside of where I place my paint with a old brush and just kind of move that around so that it is getting every nook. And then I would say, sorry, about once a week, I do a deep clean of my airbrush, which involves, I guess, putting some boiling water or like really hot water with some detergent and running it through the airbrush, taking out the needle and making sure the nozzle is cleaned out too. It can be a tedious job, but if you love airbrush and you use it a lot, it's worth doing. It's just like a part of the practice, I guess. I'm so used to it now that I just you get quick at problem solving if you like airbrushing, because a lot of the times when people have problems with airbrushing, it's more about how they clean it or the product they're putting into it. So you just get real quick at realizing when it needs a deep clean and moving on. Okay, so those are looking good. We're on to our last. Did you write this book for professionals, enthusiasts, or beginners? Joan E asked. Hi, Joan E. I wrote it for a bit of everything because gel can cause allergies if used incorrectly. I didn't really want to implore people to use gel if they weren't trained. The misuse of it obviously can lead to allergies because it's overexposed in parts of the skin that it shouldn't, or on the skin when it shouldn't be. And so I didn't want to teach any gel elements, but I also wanted to talk about obviously some of our most used materials at the moment, and gel happens to be one of them. So I made sure that I covered information about it, but I didn't encourage use of it. So all the DIY elements in the book are done with natural nail polish or like normal nail polish so that anyone can do them. But also those techniques can also be transferred to a pro level with gel. So it was meant to kind of, it sits across both markets, I guess. And that was something that me and my publisher talked a lot about. That was quite important to us. That it was not going to encourage people to use gel if they're going to give themselves allergies, and that it was also going to still be interesting to pro techs who have maybe seen a lot of it. Maybe it works more as an inspo book, or just kind of exciting to get their clients really keen to try something new. Okay, so I am going to go in. Actually, I'll keep. Oh, yeah, let's use this one. Let's use a different one. We're going to use the MG Art Structure Gel for this next part. So I'm going to get a little cardboard piece, and I am going to get my forms. Where are they? Now, the form is important because we don't want it to stick down permanently. We want to be able to peel it off. But I'm using the cardboard to keep structural. Oh, she doesn't want to stay. I'm going to stick that. To keep it structurally sound, so as I move around it, it's not going to do what it just did then. And we're going to use hard gel for this to get the eyes. Let's start with the eyes because I think that is the most important, and the rest can kind of, you can use the same technique to create the rest, but the eyes are really the key feature here. So I'm going to get my brush. I like to use a shorter brush when I am doing thick gel business because a shorter brush means I have better control of it. So Mocha Soap, hey, asked what is the best way for cleaning around the skin after airbrushing? So you can use alcohol. If you finish top coating, you could use micellar water, or you can use like a prep spray that you use generally to clean the nail plate. So you know that's skin safe. And I always use cosmetic grade airbrush liquid that's acrylic based. So it's water soluble and it's made so that it doesn't cause issues if it comes into contact with the skin, which is important. So cosmetic grade acrylic airbrush is great. Okay, so there's where we're at with those. I do sometimes add a little brown syrup wash over them, but we'll do that at the end if we have time because I want to make sure we get these eyes done. What are my favorite brands to do nail art with? So I would say Jellyfit, Accents, Coco West. Who else do I use a lot of? This non-white black is amazing. We'll get into that soon. So for the eye, I'm just going to go in with a general eye shape. Again, it's still somewhat organic in shape. I like to have a little flick at the end, almost to like emulate, I guess, a bit of a winged liner moment. With the sizing for this, I kind of just went by my eye, so that can sometimes be a little tricky. I feel like sometimes I'm teaching a recipe in the way like a grandma would, where I don't have exact amounts. But visually you get the idea. And obviously you could make this much smaller and make this an actual wearable look on a client if you curved the, I'm just going to cure that, if you curved the, excuse me, my brain just went blank. If you curve the form on a, like you can either use straw, you could use a brush that you're not using that's thicker and wrap it around if you want it to curve to the natural nail. Or you can even use those C-curve tubes that you would use for acrylic. I'm just going to have a little sip of water. Zobo Smitty Nails said your book inspired me to make my own version of a scaparelli set. Please share it with me. I really appreciate that. That's really special. Thank you so much. Zara M asked, are you going to do a book tour? So I hope so. It is definitely something I would love to do. I'm going to go in with the white, Jellyfit Orca White. I would absolutely love to do a book tour. I'm not really sure where I would go first. I have done like 2 events here in Sydney, but I am very keen to do more. I'm heading to Perth at the start of next month, and I'll be teaching there, which will be fun. I definitely need to get to Melbourne, and I mean, I would absolutely love to get overseas, so I hope that opportunity comes forward. I'm going to use the Get Buffed Brienne brush. This is my all-time favorite brush. I use this every single day without fail. It just has the exact right length, which is easy to control even if you're a beginner, but it also has enough length to do really dainty line work. I am quite heavy-handed, so I find I kind of just like plonk my product on and then drag it. That seems to be how I work best, but if you're dainty, I mean, you can definitely do it with a lot more calm precision than I tend to work with. So you can see there I've left a little perimeter on the edge. You don't really have to because that's going to be covered anyway. And then I'm going to cure that. I'm going to wipe off my brush away from the light so it doesn't cure. Okay, Nat Maloney nail artist, hi. Asked, do you have an airbrush recommendation? I do. I love Iwata. That is my all-time favorite. If you DM me, I'll send you the exact one that I love, but it's a Revolution airbrush and I love it. Zara M asked, do you ever have requests to work with semi-precious stones in your nail art? I don't actually. Weirdly, I feel like my clients aren't super gem-oriented people, but they definitely love a 3D moment and a shell moment. I think shell is something I use a lot. Sabine D asked, do you think should be considered an art form these days? Honestly, that is a really good question because I myself find myself questioning what is and isn't, I guess, considered an art form. But I think it's kind of up to the individual, to be honest. I think anything can be an art form. And I mean, if found object work, and, you know, from everything from found object to like detailed hyper realistic painting, I mean, all of those things can really be considered art forms. So I think hopefully one day nail art will be in those ranks, but I can't lie, I have considered getting into a bunch of different mediums as well, just as a hobby, to really expand what I see art, like nail art as in the world. I'm going to use DK05 from Jellyfit. Sabine D said, did you ever take art classes in school? I did art up until I finished high school, and I loved it. I can't say I'm very big on, like, I'm not very skilled as a drawer. If you see my writing, you'll know it's terrible. Here it is right here. It's disgusting. So I'd say I'm not as strong, but I did still love art. I like concepting it. I like working with different mediums, and I have been trying to teach myself to paint lately. Also, if you're watching this on TalkShopLive, make sure you click the button below to snag one of the signed books. And if you're watching this on Instagram or Facebook, if you comment shop, you'll get a link. And lastly, if you are on YouTube, there is a link in the bio to the book. I also believe that there are stockers for almost every continent on the link. So if you are in a spot that's been hard to get the book, you should have some luck there. Charlotte F said, have you ever had any odd requests for a design? Honestly, I think I am pretty hard to shake in the sense of the fact that even if something's kind of strange, I'll probably find it interesting, or I enjoy, I guess, problem solving. So I think it's kind of fun to do something that might be a bit outlandish. So I can't say I've ever had one that's made me, cringe or feel strangely. Hi, Sohan. That's one of my regulars. Thanks for watching. Rose Aladdin, hi. Hey, Angel. Still struggling with design prices. How do you design your tiers? How do you price your tiers? Sorry. Also, what product do you recommend for natural nail overlay? I love Izemi or MG Art for natural nail overlay or Coco West. So they're the three that I use the most. For pricing, unfortunately, it's one of those things where you kind of have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable thing of charging your clients. Even though we love them and we get along with them and it's amazing and you form friendships, at the end of the day, like it is really hard to, I guess, survive financially in the world generally at the best of times. I'm going to go in with Deco 04 for this next step and just do a smaller kind of, it doesn't have to be perfect, little shape there. And I'm going to get my bigger dotting tool and dab that into some alcohol. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press that in, and that will loosen it up a little bit and give us some of those eye details where, oh, I went a little bit far with that. I've used a touch too much alcohol, so what I'm going to do is get a little angled brush. Everyone, everywhere, every tech should have an angled brush that looks completely destroyed that they use for things like this. So just some little detail of additional color, and then we'll go in again. I'm going to cure that. Pricing, I think I structure by tier and time. I kind of consider two things. I consider the time it takes to do a design, and I also consider the amount of product used. If I'm doing 3D or I'm using a lot of gems or I'm doing lots of layers, it consumes more product, so you just have to structure that into your pricing. My pricing is probably even still too low for what should be industry standard now. I definitely think we need to have a unionized approach as nail techs, and I hope that comes in future. So, I mean, feel free to DM me and I can give you a more detailed breakdown, but there are things to consider like your time, your overheads, and once you break those down, there's also a great pricing calculator that helps break those down by Maddie Boss. I'll think of her at. I'm using LGO4 to just do some really dainty strokes. I'm really brushing my brush dry and going out to kind of create that veinier detailing. Again, this is faint, but it's just going to add enough dimension for us to feel excited about how detailed this is. So those are things, that I would look at with pricing. You really have to get across your overheads and look at reasonably what it takes for you to run your business, because also you need to run at a profit in order to grow, to invest in new products, to invest in education. You can't just be paying the bills. Okay, where am I at? Josephine K, hi. Is this book a standalone or part of a larger series? Well, my publisher, Sweethearts Press, they are coming out with a bunch of other products. I can't reveal everything they're coming out with, but they also have some other products in the market now that you can check out. But I think that it's important to note my publisher, Alyssa from Sweethearts Press, who's an absolute legend, is very, I guess, culturally focused, understands the interest in beauty and the layered, the layered influence of those kinds of art forms. So I wouldn't be surprised if she sent us a little bit more of that. I'm going to go in with All Kill Black. Josephine K said, will you be doing a book tour and demonstrating some of your designs? Yes, hopefully I will get to a few more places. I'm heading to Perth and hopefully Melbourne, maybe early next year. But yeah, if there's anywhere else you would like to see me, please let me know and hopefully we can make that happen. Laura asked, hi Victoria, what advice would you give to your younger self just starting out? And is there any advice you'd give to those who are considering getting into nail art? I think it's important to consider how much work goes into it. It also, I guess if I was talking to my younger self, I'd be like, I got really lucky, I think. I came up in nail art at a time where it wasn't, it still was everywhere. Cure that. But it wasn't as crazy as it is now. And I feel for techs now because I think there's an expectation that you're perfect out of the gate. So what I would say to any tech starting out is expect to be kind of bad at it at the start. And that's okay. That means that you're committed to getting good, which is amazing. So you do have to have persistence. And there's still things I'm bad at that I still need to practice and refine. So I think what I would say to any tech starting out is just invest in your education, invest in good product. Don't feel like you need to have everything all at the start. I'm going with the chrome proof top. Don't feel like you have to invest in literally every single thing at the start. I think there's this idea to smudge something that you need to be perfect out the gate and you have to have every single product. And I think it's a surefire way to spend all your money and not have the money to refine your skills through education. So that's what I'd recommend. Hi. Okay, so we are getting into the finer points of it. That is going to cure. While that's curing, I'm going to go in with CK06 from Jellyfit. And what I'll do is show you guys just how I lightly brush over this to give it depth. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect. We don't want it all to be even. You can just smush that around until you feel satisfied. It's just so it doesn't look, I mean, it's already not going to look two-dimensional, but as you can see, that goes from being, you know, a random pattern to being a little more croc skin. So that's what I do there. Then now that this one is done and that is matted and ready to be chromed, what I do is go in with this Chiori Sculptor's Paint Gel. Ooh, just dropping everything. Amazing. Hi, Emma. I'm glad you love this design. I'm very excited to be showing you guys. It is really fun to do this. I didn't realize, well, I can't remember how long it took me to do it the first time. So this is kind of funny to do on camera and be like, oh, let's just guesstimate. So I hope that I get to show you guys this on the nail. Again, I made this to look quite organic to reflect the kind of molten metal that the Schiaparelli design is made out of. So I am not always aiming for perfect lines. So you can definitely do this slower and with more precision if you are someone who wants it to look super neat. But after this, I do go in with another layer to give it some more texture. So I'm going to cure that. And we'll just have a look at this here. So you can see the texture in the shaping around the eye. So we're going to do that again. Extra Hard Nail said, please come to Adelaide on your tour. Okay, you know what? I've never been to Adelaide, so I would absolutely love to do that. That would be very, very fun. I'm very keen to, you know, get to talk nails with as many people as possible in as many places as possible. It's super fun. And everyone has such different techniques and ideas. Even when I've taught classes, people have been like, oh, I really like doing it like this. And you learn something new. So it's quite fun. Okay, then I'm going to go in with the gold chrome and just get that onto all the perimeter. You're going to dust off the excess. You can use a brush. You can use whatever you like. But I'm going with what's quickest for me right now. And I've lost my brush. Where did I put her? Wow. I have no idea how I've done that. Well, I'm going to go in with the mini. So that'll be funny when I find it. I'm going to go in with another coat of this, and I'm going to pick up like thicker dollops. And what I'm going to do, you don't want to go too thick. You want it to actually cure. So I'm just going to kind of dot it around the line. So picking up and dropping my brush as I go around. And that's just going to give us a little additional texture there. Wow, this has gone really fast, guys. I was quite nervous, and you guys have kept me well entertained. So I'm really grateful, and I hope that I have given you guys some insight into the techniques that I've been using for this. So I'm just going to let that cure. I'm going to put the cap on my brush so I know exactly where it is, and hopefully find my other one later. Emma said, do you teach this anywhere or teach online? Honestly, I could definitely do this online if you guys would like. I do have a Patreon, so if you want to see anything from start to finish there is also a couple of videos up there. Some are free, some are paid, but you can have a look there. And if you have any requests for things I should teach, please DM me. I'm always down to hear, because sometimes I am used to just working the way that I do in my little solo zone sometimes, so I forget what it is that people will find interesting about this, I guess. I mean, it's all interesting. It's nail art, but you know what it is that people exactly want to know. So then what I would do is use another 3D and just do a blob in clear on the middle. Alyssa, so good. Thank you so much. That is my publisher. She's the best. She really held my hand through this process and made something quite intimidating really joyful. So I'm very grateful. Everyone say thanks, Alyssa. Ramen lecture, how long did it take for you to build a consistent client base, have reliable income? Okay, so I was really lucky, I guess, in the sense that I had a corporate job. I was a marketing manager before I became a full-time nail tech. So I'm just going to use my brush to move that around to the corners and let that level a bit. So I was, very lucky. I had a full salary, and that made things a lot easier for me. And it also gave me the money to build my, I'm going to tip that over if I want to make sure the center point is in the middle, and pop that back in to cure. It gave me the money to build my kit. It gave me the money to build my clientele. So I would work from 9 to 5, and then I would see my clients from 6 till 10 or 6 till 12. I worked a lot and it really helped build my client base. Unfortunately, it is annoying having to do that. And I was also very lucky in the sense that Instagram was a place where you could really build community at the time. So once it turned into doing it on my nails, so doing it on friends of friends, and then expanding that, it probably took me maybe 6 months to a year to build my client base. And I worked a lot and I posted a lot. So that definitely helped. I don't know how much posting helps now. I think virality is really important. So that would be hard, but that is kind of how I best built my clientele. Now I'm going to go in with this top coat and go right over all of it. I want to make sure, obviously, that I've sealed in all my chrome. If I do chrome on a client, I do use an overlay top coat and then a non-wipe top coat. So I have multiple layers of defense. I'm just going to go right over this first. You can peel it off the top coat after, but I'm a bit nervous about scratching my chrome. Okay, I'm going to pull out this little base we did earlier, and that's going to be what we're going to put our eye on. I think this time I put it horizontally. I think it could be cute to put it vertically, just as a point of difference. The lips are done the exact same way, the hard gel, and then a chrome black, well, a black that allows you to chrome on top, and then the chrome, and then again the same thing, using this to paint some 3D detail. And the nose, I did the same, but with a tube squeezy gel like this, and then did the chrome over, but the hard gel first as the shape. And doing like a thin layer of hard gel really allows you to create the shape you really want. Now I just peel that off. The foam, that's what the foams are good for. I mean, they're good for a billion things, but really good for this and that way. And then what I would do is use a little nail file or buffer and just very gently get rid of the excess that we have here. You could use cuticle nippers. You could use a myriad of things. And obviously, if I was doing this for a client and not for editorial, I would apply this to my base and then I would top coat again. So that would seal all of the edges we're making here. But obviously, this is for show, this set. If someone does do a wearable version, I would absolutely love to see it. Extra Hard Nails said, what was the brand of the 3D black you use? Chayori. If you want a link, I can send it to you. Just shoot me a DM. Maison Gel, what was your first oh my god moment or first viral set? Weirdly, my first viral set is a design that I probably don't really feel like it's a cute design, but I would say it's not the kind of thing that reflects my personal style the most. But it was inlaid florals. But I also started, this business like from my bedroom 7-8 years ago as a full-time job 6 years ago. But that was kind of one of my first sets that went viral in my bedroom. So I'm going to apply this rhinestone glue. You can use any. And I'm just going to do a line across here. Obviously, you have to keep into account that when I press this on, it will go out the sides a little bit. So I'm only putting one line down, but enough that it will hold such a fun and 3D design. Again, it's not going to sit flat to the nail. Where do I want to end up here? I'm just going to place that down. Maybe even lower. It's kind of cute when it goes over the cuticle and it's pressed on. And I'm going to cure that. But yeah, my first oh my god moment, I guess, was probably like when I quit my full-time job. I put my bookings on. So I quit my full-time job on a Monday and I put my bookings live on the Wednesday. And then I was fully booked because by that point I had a wait list and I had people who had heard about my work and stuff. So I think that was the first oh my god moment. I was like, wow, this is actually like a viable career choice, because obviously after going from a corporate job with a stable and steady income, it's quite intimidating. So after I top coat this, it's time for me to wrap up. But if you have any last questions, please shoot them off now. And like I said, if you want to purchase one of the books or a signed copy, it is on TalkShopLive. If you're on Instagram or Facebook, you can comment shop and you will be sent the link. And on YouTube, the link is just in the description. So I'm just going to shimmy around. Again, when I do something 3D, obviously when it's raised like this, I'm not doing this on a client generally, because like I said, my clients love a hobby. They love a 3D hobby. Sorry, not 3D hobby, hands-on hobby. But I will shimmy it around the nooks. And make sure you've got all the edges. And I like to tip that upside down so that all the top coat will the thickest part of it will kind of fall into those nooks instead of being chunky on the sides of the nail. Maison Gel asks, biggest piece of advice for aspiring artists, nail mediums or otherwise. It's kind of crazy that you're asking this because you are so talented. It's absolutely insane. But I guess I don't know. I mean, just for any aspiring nail artist or artist generally, I think unfortunately I have very practical advice. I apologize for that. I am 4 Capricorn placements deep, and I guess my advice would be swindle money away for the quiet time so you don't freak out. Use that time when you are quiet to make menus, to challenge yourself creatively. Film everything. I know it sounds really annoying to say in this like viral age to like film everything and whatever, but it is helpful because you can see your process. Like I have so few videos when I worked in my bedroom because I felt embarrassed, and now I really regret it because I wish I had more to document the growth of the business. So film everything, take photos of everything. Again, get comfy with being bad at things first. Again, like I said, I'm still bad at things that I try again. So give yourself room to be bad and to play around. And yeah, put money aside for the times when it's quiet so you don't panic, because every creative job has its like ups and downs. That's crazy. I'm sorry, in a creative rut. Boo. I feel like you'll be out of it in no time. Maybe have a look through fashion runways or go to the gallery on a quiet day. That's like always the best way to reset sometimes. Ariel said it's fire. Thank you so much. So that is where we're at. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I did teach you guys a little bit about the technique I used to get this look here for my book. Like I said, the book is available at all the links on the lives that you're on, and hopefully I can manage this to say goodbye. Thank you so, so much for watching this. I really appreciate it. And I hope, sorry, I'm trying to get centered. I hope that you guys learned something with this cute little nail look here. Where is my camera? And if you have any questions, like always, please feel free to DM me, and hopefully I will get to share some more of my book soon. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you for asking so many questions. It really helped me be less nervous.